In this episode of Net Lease TV, we will be interviewing our newest client, Caara Shayne, who is an actress, Net Lease investor, and involved in a 1031 exchange. This video feed took place at Il Pastaio Italian Restaurant in Beverly Hills, who has been frequented by many stars, including Al Pacino, Andrea Bocelli, Muhammad Habib, the Kardashians, and many others. This will be a series, and we will continue to update you on the progress of Chris and Caara's net lease transaction.
Hi, this is Chris Marabella with Marabella Commercial Finance. I'm really excited. I'm here with Caara, my new client, that we're going to talk a little bit about her net lease acquisition in a series. This is kind of the first part of that series. So Caara, thanks again for being a client of Marabella Commercial Finance.
Pleasure.
So tell me, how did you first learn about net lease properties? I'd be interested. I know you're selling a property right now in Los Angeles.
Yes.
But who really made you familiar with net lease? Not a lot of people know about net lease.
Well, it was my cousin Bob. Cousin Bob, who was a school principal in Los Gatos, California.
Okay.
Basically inherited from a neighbor that he was very kind to a $4 million property, which he turned into net lease properties. And his first one that he spoke about was Carl's Jr. Colorado, which the family still has. My cousin has since passed, but he's left this legacy for his family. And they've continued to invest in various net lease properties. So I was in dialogue with them, and I was very interested in, I mean, nothing is no management, but after being in residential, rental, multifamily, and commercial, it's just, there's nothing that's totally hands-off.
Right.
But because I value time and my time, but what I've found is that net lease, triple net lease, when you get the right one, long-term lease, other than having to maybe watch the stock, the company,
Smart.
Corporate.
So you're going to watch the stock.
I'm going to watch the stock.
You're going to watch the stock. What else are you going to do?
I'm going to go to visit my property.
You're going to visit. That's a smart move. So you're going to see the physical surrounding of the property.
And I'm calling and I'm looking at everything that I can do. You know, but if ideally, I'd like it in a location that I enjoy visiting. You know, part of the lifestyle. You know, so then
what are some areas that you're thinking?
Well, I like. I love Telluride.
Telluride.
I mean,
Telluride.
I love Colorado.
Colorado. Is there a ski resort there?
Yeah. But
is that near Aspen or no?
No, but you know, I could, if I was able to go to Colorado. Telluride is one of my top places. I also love Park City.
Nice.
Utah, and I love New Mexico. You know, hot springs in New Mexico. Anywhere where there's hot springs and it's snowboarding. That's where you could find me.
Me too.
Montana. You know,
I'm a big sports person. My assistant Hayden's really into snowboarding, right, Hayden?
That's correct.
He's into, but go ahead. I'm sorry. So what has been kind of the first stage here for the financing? What have we been doing together?
Well, we've been talking to lenders. I've actually been learning a lot from you, Chris, about the process and where it can go wrong, or what lenders look for and where it can go right. You know, like how to mitigate as much risk as possible. I'm very risk averse.
Right.
And that's why I'm interested in this asset class, but now that we're in a pandemic, I'm like, how do I further mitigate my risk and just collect my check?
So there's two risks, right? One, there's doing the transaction right.
Yes.
And then secondly, getting a good transaction. So there's two risks that we're working on here. The short-term risk is let's get this transaction and be unscathed. And then the second risk is let's get a good deal and a good loan that mitigates your risk, but also gives you a good cash flow. Now, the one thing I told Caara, I read Roger Staubach's book, and what Roger said was the game is won before the game is played, right? And that's what we're doing. We're scrimmaging and talking with the lenders. But go ahead.
Well, that's like the money is made on the buy.
For sure.
You know, the money is made on the buy. So, and that's always been true for every deal that I've ever done. I mean, knock wood, I've been very lucky and had good guidance in real estate from relatives, friends, just bumping into somebody. It's like that's my good fortune's been better there than in anything else I've
How is the LOIs going with the sellers?
The LOIs, the sellers are not responding as quickly as I would hope.
Okay, so the sellers are not responding.
I'm doing 2 deals, and one of them is an all-cash deal, and I'm not, even for the all-cash deals, I'm having some trouble, and that's why I look to you. It's like, why? Like, I don't really understand.
So basically, what happens sometimes is there'll be a buyer that is working with a seller, and maybe they have a 30-day due diligence. It could be an all-cash deal, and they're 25 days in to the transaction, and the seller has made you a backup to the primary buyer just in case that buyer doesn't waive contingencies and continue on with the transaction. If they do, they're probably not going to go with you. But if that buyer falls out, they're going to be back to you in 5 days from now.
What you're saying
Using our example.
is that I'm a backup, but I don't even know it.
You're a backup, you don't even know it.
But I'm a backup. I'm not first choice.
You're a backup and you don't even know it. And you
I may
know,
not be interested
which,
in that.
which, you know, it happens. It's real estate. Everything's negotiable in our game, and those kind of things do happen. It's a little frustrating because you have a certain amount of time.
Yes.
You got to ID by what, November 9th.
November 9th.
So, you know, for other buyers watching this, other exchange buyers, that's your trickiest thing, is you're going to have a certain constraint on the time frame, and so it can be tricky. My advice: have a lot of balls in the air. I do mostly finance, but what I've seen from the agents, you want to be bidding on a lot of things. Maybe even verify that the property isn't bid on by anybody else.
How do you do that?
I think you just go to the agents and say, I want to make sure I'm the exclusive buyer on this deal. I want to make sure there's no other contracts or any that you're talking to any other buyers.
And they'll tell
and
you
this
the truth.
property is off the market.
Okay.
Now, I had a deal that we were working with one of my lenders, and on that deal, the client was in an exchange, and it was a new deal, and it was going to be built, and it was in the future, and part of the contract provisions was that seller wanted the ability to continue to sell that property. And I told my client I wouldn't do that, because if they get another buyer and they go with the other buyer and you ID'd that property and you go back to your other two, they're going to be gone. So he just backed out, and then we did a Bank of America deal. But that would have been catastrophic
Yeah.
if he went with that deal and they would have sold it to somebody else, and now I would have been out of my money as the loan broker. He would have been out of a deal and screwed up his exchange. So you gotta manage. A lot of this is delegation. You're delegating certain things and chronologically figuring how to mitigate the risk. That's very important in this game. It's chronologically.
Okay.
Chronologically, you want to look at the phase one if you can get it early on. Chronologically, you want to go on Google Street View, see what's around it. Is there any gas stations? Is there any dry cleaners? Chronologically, you want to go, maybe when you go to do your site visit, go to the city, meet with the economic development department in the city, ask them what's happening with the property, make sure there's no condemnations near the property. Go to the county, make sure there's no tax liens on the property. Go to the county recorder's office, get if there's any REAs, any recorded leases, anything that's recorded.
Can anyone do that?
Anybody can do that.
Okay.
You just need the address, and you go to the county recorder's office, and they may charge you.
Online.
It's all public information.
Right.
It's all public information.
Thanks again for watching this episode with Caara Shayne and Chris Marabella. Please stay tuned for future episodes to see how Caara is progressing with their 1031 exchange transaction and financing. Thanks for watching.